There are more than 140 Roman Catholic women priests worldwide, but the Catholic Church doesn't recognize them because of a long-standing policy that forbids the ordination of women. But as Barbara Brozier reports, some hope a new commission Pope Francis formed earlier this year will lead to change.
At first glance, this Sunday Mass may not appear much different than those you'd see in traditional Catholic churches. But the St. Mary of Magdala Catholic community prides itself on being a little different.
We celebrate the Eucharist in a way that is inclusive, using inclusive language, inclusive format, and having men and women be leaders in the whole ceremony.
They gather at the Inner Church Center in Indianapolis on Sundays, and oftentimes you'll find a woman serving as the priest. On this Sunday, Bishop Nancy Meyer is presiding over Mass. It's a role she felt destined for, even as a child.
We went to Catholic grade school, and it became real clear to me that I was called to ministry when I was 11 years old. And it was very clear to me it was a priest call.
Meyer spent more than 30 years in a convent before eventually becoming ordained in 2009. But the Catholic Church doesn't recognize her as a bishop.
I'm able to do almost everything that I want to do. I just am not able at this point in this country to do it within the church building or with the blessing of the church officials, the Archbishop of the church.
Whether women can be ordained in the Catholic Church has been hotly debated. In the 90s, Pope John Paul II wrote the church doesn't have the authority to ordain women as priests.
The idea is that in the office of the priesthood, the priest is acting as Christ. And the traditional line that forbids the ordination of women says that because Christ was male and all of Christ's followers were male, then the priesthood must be male.
But there is evidence in the New Testament that women served as deacons, and there's a growing movement that supports welcoming women priests into the Catholic Church.
People who argue for the ordination of women think there's another point that's really important, and that is the question of, is this just affirming the patriarchy of the church, or is this really about something that was essential in the early church?
The Pope's Commission will examine some of those questions and study the possibility of allowing female deacons, but it's unclear if actual change will come as a result.
My first reaction is that I've heard this story before, and I know what the Pope has said about women in leadership, and he's not for it. So this could be just a way of trying to keep people happy.
The priesthood is a form of power right now in the Roman Catholic Church, and power is never given away. So it just needs to be wrested, as it were, from those that possess it.
But members of this community are hopeful the Pope's heart can still be changed, and they say forming the commission is a step in the right direction.
I think the fact that it's being discussed at all is absolutely wonderful, because the previous Pope said, we already talked about that and we're not talking about that anymore. That's been decided.
We really need our voices to be heard, because we look at things, we do things differently than men do that. And it's not in opposition to in any way, but it is in cooperation with that we have voices.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Barbara Brozier.